Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio, so today we are going to be looking at a very exciting new deck that I really hope could be good. It's Snorlax GX. Now, my good friend Michael Carey told me about this. He is a gentleman that was kind enough to draw the pictures that adorned the tables at my wedding, and I'm going to be honest, I was initially hesitant, but I think Snorlax GX could be making a bit of a comeback, and I would love to explain why. Now, Snorlax did have a little bit of success in the Pokemon trading card game, played with the Geomancy Xerneas, but it was a little bit slow, and recently people are just rather playing their Xerneas as it is on its own fine. And of course, Snorlax is weak to Marshadow, and a whole bunch of people could start playing Marshadow if this deck ever gets big. Okay, I get it. And of course, Gardevoir decks are generally playing Gallade, which is a pain, given that it hits you for weakness. But I think Snorlax might be fast enough now that we don't care about no weakness. Let me explain, ladies and gentlemen. So starting off looking at Snorlax, he's got 190 HP, which is quite a lot for a basic GX, same as Turtonator, Lapras, etc. Huge retreat cost, but of course Heavy Ball is always an option, and the aforementioned weakness to fighting. But it's the attacks here, ladies and gentlemen, I quite like. Free energy 80 plus sleep is a bit rubbish. Having said that, turn 1 double colourless, play a max elixir to accelerate another energy while Snorlax is on the bench, then pop him in the active, you're hitting for 80, you can be taking potentially turn 1 or at least turn 2 KOs on evolving Pokemon like Alolan Vulpix, Ralts, Beldum, etc. So not a bad attack. Now you might be thinking going to sleep, that's a bit rubbish, but oh no, ladies and gentlemen, because you want to be asleep. Thunderous Snore, 180 damage, but only if you're asleep. And 180 damage is frankly ludicrous. We've all seen how Ho-Oh doing 180 damage is awesome, but then again, Ho-Oh has a slight issue in that it cannot use that attack the following turn. Snorlax can use that attack the following turn. Now it's worth pointing out the Ho-Oh does it for 1 energy fewer, but other than that, you're talking pretty much the same, but Snorlax has a much better GX attack than Ho-Oh, because Ho-Oh's is basically useless. Snorlax does just a flat 210 for 5 energy. That's it. Just that. 210 for 5 energy. Now, this alone will KO a whole bunch of stuff. Espeon GX, Drampa, Darkrai, etc. You whop a Choice Band on there, you're doing 240. Decidueye, Gardevoir, they're going down. The issue, of course, is 250 HP Pokemon like Metagross, but as we're going to mention in a minute, a Professor Kukui will make short work of those. Ladies and gentlemen, Snorlax has 3 attacks, all of which have their uses, 2 of which are exceedingly powerful. So essentially, if we can get energy on Snorlax fast enough and keep that big boy asleep, we could have a viable deck. And the great news is, we've got options for all of that. In terms of the energy, what's really changed is Kiawe. Kiawe is the thing that makes Ho-Oh viable, it's the thing that makes Snorlax viable. Search your deck for 4 fire energy, attach them to one of your Pokemon, end your turn. Now, the good news is that Kiawe is not just for fire Pokemon, it's for any Pokemon, so you use this, ladies and gentlemen, to get Snorlax up and rolling. You use a Kiawe, and then the next turn you attach an energy, and you are just ready to go, Thunderous Snore for 180, or Pulverizing Pancake for 210. We've also got Max Elixir because you really want to be using Kiawe once per game. So you use Max Elixir here to attach energy to bench Snorlax. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck. If you find a basic energy, attach it to one of your benched basic Pokemon. So you can use this to accelerate energy to Snorlax here. Now, one issue is that you'll also be playing double colourless energy. This is good because 2 double colourless and a Max Elixir is awesome. That gets you to 5 energy on Snorlax, so you essentially get the first one with Kiawe, and then the rest of them you get with a combination of Max Elixir and double colourless. But double colourless is vulnerable to things like Kartana and Enhanced Hammer, Kartana's ability being Enhanced Hammer, coming out in Crimson Invasion, but also anything like the promo Jirachi that comes around will be a little bit of a pain. But you can't have it all, ladies and gentlemen. It also messes up Max Elixir a little bit, because if you're playing 4 double colourless, you might whiff a Max Elixir because you only hit a double colourless. Having said that, Xerneas decks at the moment are generally playing 12 basics plus double colourless, so if you can find room for that, you'll be okay. The other main part of this deck is Hypno. Hypno just puts both active Pokemon to sleep. You don't mind being asleep, because you need it to be able to do 180 for 5 energy, and your opponent doesn't want to be asleep because they might not be able to attack. And any matchup, ladies and gentlemen, that you think might be awkward, you've got to remember that they can't attack if they're asleep. So you use Kiawe to get the energy on Snorlax, along with Max Elixir and double colourless, Hypno to put him to sleep, and off you go. And that really is the basis of the deck, and it's because of Kiawe now that we can start looking at this seriously. But there are some other Pokemon to consider. There is a baby Snorlax from Fates Collide. Now, the baby Snorlax is alright. It's not amazing, it's alright. Free energy, 120 if you're asleep. Now, the second attack, 4 energy, 50, and then heal, it's a bit rubbish. But 120 for free energy is not bad. When you consider that you'll be using Max Elixir and double colourless, this is not bad at all. Especially against non-GXs, this is going to add up very, very quickly indeed. Although annoyingly, 120 will be 10 short of KOing a whole bunch of stuff like Greninja, like Xerneas, like Yveltal. Bit of a pain, but again, you could play Kukui if you're desperate. But you also should be playing Turtonator here. You've got a fairly bad weakness to something like Marshadow, and of course, you may struggle to hit the full 250 against something like a Metagross. So Turtonator here comes in with Bright Flame and helps you out. Turtonator is not an every turn, every game monster, because you've got to discard the energy, and this is a deck where you play Kiawe, double colourless and Max Elixir, and you're not replenishing energy, you're building up new attackers. You don't really have the resources to keep replenishing energy on Turtonator, but once or twice per game, Turtonator, ladies and gentlemen, he has got your back. Now, of course, you may consider playing cards like Oranguru or Octillery to draw extra cards, especially if you get End in the mid to late game, to make sure that you're not sitting over a hand of 1. And, of course, Tapu Lele for Wonder Tag because Tapu Lele. Although after some discussions with the lovely Michael, the guy who told me about this deck, he told me that it actually has a surprisingly bad matchup against Greninja. He keeps losing to it, so play Giratina. And as soon as you play Giratina, you should be absolutely alright. Now, there are some other cards to consider here, the most exciting of which is All Night Party, which I like because it's got Umbreon on, and I love Umbreon, but we like in this deck because it allows you to just wake up and heal 30 damage. In theory, you're getting big one-hit KOs with Snorlax, although if you're trying to buy time by putting your opponent to sleep with Hypno, don't play All Night Party. And then, of course, this just allows you to heal. You can put yourself back to sleep with Hypno. It doesn't really matter. The most important thing here is this basically allows you to heal 30 damage per turn from Snorlax. You've got 190 HP. Your opponent is going to take a while to get really going here if you're taking early prizes, so you can heal 30 damage and all will be well. And along a very similar line, might I suggest Pokemon Center Lady. Same deal, heal 60 damage, you're not asleep anymore, but you just use Hypno to put you back to sleep, so it doesn't really matter that, you know, the sleep is irrelevant. It's just healing 60 damage. And I like this, ladies and gentlemen. High HP, healing, big damage, this sounds like fun. There are a couple of other supporters to consider here. Firstly, Hala, because you may well be using an early GX attack here on Snorlax. So Hala's just good, because after you've used Pulverizing Pancake, you just get to draw 7 cards off Hala, and that is super good, especially in the mid to late game. And of course, I've mentioned it already, Professor Kukui, because sometimes you just need to hit those numbers, especially against something like Metagross. I'm not saying this is definitely the best deck in the format. I am saying that this deck, with the addition of things like Kiawe, is now positioned to do very well. You might think that decks like Gardevoir would be really good against this because you've got 5 energy on you. But if you can be taking prizes from turn 1 or turn 2, and you can be using Pulverizing Pancake to get a one-hit KO on the first Gardevoir, and maybe even using the second attack with a Kukui to get a KO on the second Gardevoir, it's not quite as bad as you might think it is. And like I say, Michael, and we had a lot of discussion about this deck, he tells me that it's got a surprisingly good Gardevoir matchup. The reason is very simple. You're using a basic, they're using a stage 2. They will KO a Snorlax or 2, but they won't get them all. Something like a Metagross will not get a KO on Snorlax. They're only hitting 180 with a Choice Band. You've got 190. That means that you can buy time until you can hit your Kukui for a KO. And of course, you're playing Turtonator. I think this deck has an awful lot of potential, ladies and gentlemen, and I really think you should give it a bit of a go. I mean, you're not even worried about something like a non-GX Alola Ninetales because you've either got Fates Collide, Snorlax, or you've got Oranguru. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. I'm going to be testing it on my stream, twitch.tv/PTCGRadio, and I think you should all give it a test as well. But really, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments. Go nuts! Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and for some live action, twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. Michael is actually a fine artist. I've popped a link to his Facebook page in the description. Check him out. Like I said, he did the pictures for my wedding, and they were absolutely stunning. And I don't plug stuff on my channel that I don't absolutely love. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus pods, etc., you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.